We are a nation of dog lovers. 1 in 4 households have one, as their numbers climb to 9 million. But as our pet population grows, so does the number without a home. More than 300,000 dogs were rescued nationwide last year, many by the RSPCA and Dogs Trust. But behind the limelight are numerous smaller charities dedicated to providing 24/7 care to hundreds of abandoned dogs, including this team of volunteers at Wirral Animal Welfare, who after 30 years are still finding these homeless hounds a family. Like many other charities, Wirral Animal Welfare works tirelessly to rescue and rehome dogs in the area, but what makes them so unique is the volunteers. Helena Dalton is 80 years old and has dedicated much of her life to animals. She has spent many years working with Glenys, who is 62, but despite their age, they both enforce strict rules when rehoming dogs.
We do a home check, make sure that they are suitable people. It's nice to meet them because they're very often strangers. And check that the surrounding, the home, the garden is secure. We give them advice on when they take another dog. And when they've got the dog of their choice, it stays with them for 2 weeks on trial, where we're always available to check on the care of the animal and also if it's fitting in to their family life. And at the end of 2 weeks, we allow the dog to be adopted.
However, sometimes an animal needs training before it can be considered for adoption. Barry Harris is an animal behaviourist and has been looking after and training rescued dogs for years. He's had Troy, a dog de Bordeaux, since he was found in November last year by Helena and Glenys, living in horrendous conditions.
He was shut in a shed pretty much his whole life. From what we've been informed, we can't always take the word of the people that hand the dogs over. Apparently it was her partner's dog. He moved out and she just wanted the dog out of her house. My partner Holly was the one that went with Helena and Glenys to see him. And when they got there, he was kept in a shed with no door and blankets and coats on the floor. He was in his own faeces, in quite a bad state, covered in warts. He would have died in the shed. We had a quite bad winter. It was snowing, it was very cold. He had no door on the shed he had, so he was just lying on blankets. The faeces would have frozen, so he'd be lying on cold, frozen faeces. Very smelly. Depending on what food he was on, his digestive system, it could have quite dropped dramatically in weight to a point where he'd have died of emaciation, really.
And the impact of Troy's ordeal was very noticeable when Barry first took him in.
When we took him out, it was almost like he'd never been out before. The whole environment was quite overwhelming for him. He just wanted to stop and mark his territory on absolutely everything. What would normally be an hour's walk may have taken closer to 2 to 3 hours.
Despite an improvement in his health, ongoing dietary problems and his age mean Troy is likely to spend the rest of his life with Barry. The number of dogs in need of rehoming at Wirral Animal Welfare far outweighs those who aren't, so in the meantime many of them are taken in by this boarding kennel near West Kirby, including Lacey, who arrived 2 years ago.
She was so scared of everything. She'd be in a kennel and we couldn't get near her. It took us days to be able to get her just on a lead and to gain any trust and stuff from her. She wouldn't, she never would have even come and sat by any of us. Now, she'll happily jump all over us and kiss you and stuff. Now, but at first she was terrible. Why did they get her in the first place? She was so young. Why get her in the first place to treat her like that? And there is charities out there that will help them. So if you can't manage, ask someone for help. Don't leave them to get into the state like that. It's just, it's not worth it, and it's not fair because she's so loving. And obviously staffies do get a bit of a bad name, and it's hard. So in that way, it's harder to home her as well because of the few problems and stuff that she has had, and being quite scared. She doesn't always show herself off to her best, we know she can be.
But Hayley believes Lacey's breed is the main reason why she's here.
A lot of it's just overbreeding, especially with staffies. People are just breeding them, and you can pick up puppy up for nothing now. So people just don't care. They're paying 50, 100 quid for it. They don't care what happens to it, and the breeders don't care who they're selling them to neither. And nothing, it's not policed in any way. The breeding stuff, no one really does anything about it.
For now though, Lacey's home remains here as the search for a forever home goes on. Her future may rely on someone like June Graham, who at 87 years old currently has 3 dogs from the charity, including Rosie, whose disability to walk has led to an unusual idea.
I bought a pram for her so I could take her to the park, because when I took my other 2 out, she would stand and cry and bark because she wanted to come but she couldn't walk. So I bought the pram and take her to the park and drop her. Don't drop her. I put her on the path and she'll follow me, say, from here to the front door. And then she's had enough and I put her back in the pram. She loves it.
But Jess, a Springer Spaniel cross, has a more threatening illness.
She's wonderful. Now she's got a wonderful history behind her, in that she apparently lived on the streets with an alcoholic and swapped her when he was desperate for a bottle of vodka. I think that's the story. And I eventually got her. And she had 10 teeth out, I think. I don't know, quite a lot anyway. She had a lot of things, and she had a total hysterectomy. And the only thing the vet couldn't do was take this cancer lump off her back end, because he said there was nowhere, there's too much, it would leave too big a hole. And the cancer, if he opened her up, he might find the cancer had gone into her other organ. So it was best, he said, just leave her while she's happy. I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and we're supposed to love even our enemies. But I find it very hard to love somebody that can be deliberately cruel to animals, because you don't need to have an animal.
June's kindness provides help for Helena and Glenys, who battle numerous expenses. But some of the strain has been relieved with the help of vet Rob Fosterer, who helps keep rising fees down.
He's absolutely wonderful with the rescue dogs, and as Alina said, we couldn't have taken half of them if his rates, which he charges us, and he's got a lot of compassion.
Although Glenys and Helena's job is rewarding, it's also an emotional roller coaster.
We've had some dogs that are so abused, they're afraid of the drop of a pin or whatever. And to think that when we've had them for a short period of time, that they begin to trust us. And it's that destroys you. The love, the trust that they give to you when we have abused them. And it makes me very emotional.
We don't deserve them, really, do we?
No.
A man doesn't deserve these animals.
They don't. They don't, you?
No, when you see a dog that cowers in a corner and hides its head against the wall because it's terrified, you lift a hand to stroke it and it cries in fear, it screams in fear. And to see with love, kindness, patience, that dog come round and be a beautiful, happy animal is really worth it. And that's
the penalties aren't enough. The law is not enough.
No.
They can starve a dog. You see it in the local papers, usually staffies. Starve them, beat them. One man literally tore a dog like a chicken in his front legs. They get nothing. They get a slap
on the
wrist.
But despite the emotional battle, it's their dedication that is plain to see, and their age shows no sign of slowing them down.
I haven't been away for 20 years because I had my 5 dogs and I wouldn't leave them. We work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, Glenys and I.
As long as you can do it, I will. It'd only be health.
You've
probably.
been given a gift of life and health, fortunately. We have. And it would be very selfish not to use that.